They say the devil is in the detail. I'm pretty sure he's on the dial. Hi last watchers, I've been sent a new watch from another new brand. This is the Awakening from London-based DRACO. DRACO are not a watch company per se, although they don't use the term anywhere on their website. I guess you might call them a fashion brand. A fashion brand that is very much in the early stages of a startup. It's DRACO's goal to offer an ultra-luxe experience with premium products at competitive price points. It all sounds very familiar. DRACO currently sell a handful of leather goods, consisting mainly of bracelets and credit card holders. They were kind enough to send me one of their card holders. I can thank them for not sending me a bracelet. For clarity, all of the products from DRACO have come free of charge, which makes them the sponsor of today's video. The Awakening is their flagship product and their first foray into watchmaking. It's an attractive quartz-driven chronograph, but is it any good? Let's fire off with its dimensions. It has a case diameter of 41.2mm, a lug-to-lug of 49.4mm, a lug width of 20mm, and a relatively slim case thickness of only 11.3mm. The weight on the supplied deployant leather strap is exactly 86 grams, a relative lightweight. The Awakening is an all 316L stainless steel construction that comes in 3 different case finishes. There's a sporty version in gunmetal grey fitted with an onyx black nylon strap, a carefree sandblasted variant which has a default obsidian black leather strap. The pick of the bunch for many will be the one I have in hand, simply termed as the Steel, and defined by DRACO as the more elegant of the 3. The Steel Awakening has a basic flat round case hugged between twisted lugs that appear quite slim along its profile. It's predominantly brushed, apart from a polished shoulder that flows from one lug to the next, which helps to accentuate the appearance of twisted metal. The brushing on the midcase is somewhat subtly horizontal, but noticeably vertical between the lugs. The transition is quite abrupt, but not unappealing. There are some polished screw heads at the end of each lug. I would have preferred drill lugs, but the screw heads add some decoration, and I'm impressed that they all line up vertically. The right side of the case is home to a generous sized free moving crown. I remind you that this is a quartz watch and there's no need for winding. The crown sports an engraved triangle, the chemical symbol for fire, which will be explained very soon. It also has dual slab-shaped polished pushers for the chronograph function, which engage with a reassuring click. The Awakening is slated as having 100 meters of water resistance. The 3 moving pushers and crown suggest that some reasonable rubber washers are in place. Regardless, I wouldn't engage any of these functions underwater. Atop the case is a brushed fixed bezel with a finely engraved tachymeter scale, possibly too fine to be used as a reference if that was your intent. There is a ever so slightly raised bevel-edged flat sapphire crystal with a hint of blue. There is, however, no anti-reflective coating. Beneath the sapphire crystal we have a rehaut fitted with a brushed steel gunmetal chapter ring with a white printed telemeter scale. The Awakening has both a tachymeter and telemeter scale. If you're new to chronograph watches, then a brief description would be that a tachymeter measures speed and a telemeter measures distance. If you're interested to know more, then you can download the watch user manual from the DRACO website, which gives a full explanation. The dial of the Awakening is its most intriguing element. It's a translucent, hand-painted, light-sensitive disc, an effect that DRACO have called transforme. It allows you to see aspects of the movement below. It looks somewhat similar in effect to the semi-transparent dials of the Christopher Ward C60 Sapphire and the Rado Captain Cook Plasma ceramic skeleton. The effort seems a little wasted on a quartz watch, but it adds a depth that draws attention to the dial. On the surface of the dial are applied silver polished hour markers and a similarly polished framed date window, showing a black date on a white date wheel. There are 3 sub-registers, one for the running seconds a second indicating your time in 24 hours, and the third register is the minute timer for the chronograph, which runs to 60 minutes. All of these registers have a leaf-style hand, painted with a slither of loom. Below the 12 o'clock position is a rather bold, gold-painted namesake of the brand. It may look quite demonic, but this block-style design is a graphic representation of Draco the dragon. There's more on Draco to come. The handset of the Awakening, like the sub-registers, are polished leaf style with painted BGW9 loom. I'll drop in a loom shot here for reference. The glow will hardly set your world alight, not at all fitting for a dragon. The Chronograph Hand is a different matter. It's a straight stick painted in rustic orange with a triangle counterbalance. As mentioned earlier with the crown, the chemical symbol for fire is a triangle. The Chronograph Hand is a subtle depiction of dragon's fire that sweeps around the dial. The operation of that dragon's fire and the rest of the moving hands on the Awakening comes courtesy of a Seiko Mecha Quartz movement. I'm pleased to say it runs perfectly, very responsive and with a clear snapback facility. I'm making a point here as the last chronograph watch I reviewed from a fashion brand came from Filippo Loretti, a brand that everyone loves to hate. It wasn't a bad watch to look at, but it had a cheap quartz movement, spongy pushes and failed miserably as a chronograph. I recommended you should spend your money elsewhere, and yet the majority of the video's comments suggested I was being far too kind. My British subtlety was lost in translation, a learning curve for me, and I have since removed that review from my archive. The Awakening suffers from none of those issues, proof that it's worth spending a little more on your movement when you build a watch. The rear of the watch has a screw-down diver's caseback. Around its perimeter are details of the brand's location, London, its model name and its hybrid chronograph movement. The serial number, of which it would seem I have the first. So I guess I should mention that the Awakening in its current design will be limited to a run of 100 watches in each of the 3 case finishes. Draco have told me that the dragon's head may disappear from the dial of any future watches and be replaced with the brand name. The head logo was a special addition to mark the launch of their first watch. Let me know if you think Draco should keep the dragon on the dial. There's also mention of the sapphire crystal, and finally its water resistance of 100 meters or 330 feet, which is followed by a fish symbol that looks uncannily like the ichthys, the secret symbol of early Christians. No doubt purely accidental, but the Awakening seems to have a balance of iconography, fire and water, good and evil. Literally a talisman on your wrist. That may be a stretch of my imagination. At the heart of the caseback is an embossed Draco brand name, surrounded by circular text, an excerpt from the Legend of Draco, the story of an immortal dragon born before the existence of time who becomes human in order to understand the joys of life. You can read the entire short story on the Draco website, but spoiler alert, it's all about the birth of a watch brand, human destiny and the mastering of time. It's by no means light reading, but gives an explanation for the philosophy behind the brand. The steel version of the Awakening comes with this sky grey leather strap. The sky grey has a definite hint of blue. It's a croc effect that starts at 20mm at the lug and tapers to 18mm at the polished stainless steel butterfly clasp and buckle. A buckle etched with a bold Draco brand name, which is released via a double push button deployant. Adjusting the fit of the strap is easy enough via the hinged buckle, hidden pin and numerous strap holes. The leather strap has a suede reverse, making it quite comfortable on the wrist, and it comes fitted with quick release spring bars, so its removal is extremely easy, which is quite handy as Draco also sent me the obsidian black leather strap to try on the watch. Let me know which of the straps you prefer. I think I'll stick with the blue-grey option. I have other watches in my collection that might benefit from a new strap and Draco's generosity. As mentioned earlier, Draco sent me one of their credit card holders, which I may put to good use, but at £50 I was surprised that it didn't come with RFID or NFC blocking. Surely a must for a luxury product. The Awakening is a reasonably spec'd chronograph with a decent mecha quartz movement, sapphire crystal and 100 meters of water resistance, all wrapped up in an attractive case with a comfortable strap. There are some legibility issues with the tachymeter scale on the bezel, but it's not a deal breaker. It comes packaged and well presented in a velvet sleeved piano black lacquered box, something you might expect from the likes of Tudor or Omega. The watch comes with only 12 months warranty, worldwide free shipping and a 30 days returns policy. The £250 price tag for a grab-and-go quartz from a brand with no history might be a hard ask, especially when you consider that I picked up my Bulliver Lunar Pilot on sale for around the same money. Draco may want to consider dropping the price under that £200 threshold. However, if you're a massive Game of Thrones fan, a goth, or someone who just happens to love dragons, then having Draco on the dial could be all the excuse you need to snap up the Awakening before Draco is beheaded and replaced with a brand name. Let me know what you think of Draco and the Awakening, especially if you're tempted to pick one up. I'll add a link to their website in the video description below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in my next video.